Click.
Welcome back to the captain's table to our after dark, or as Darsh like to say, after Darsh segment, which is our question and answer segment where we take questions, spicy questions, some very hefty illuminations from the chat to talk about whatever the community wants to talk about. If you missed our conversation about Alien Week, and not really Alien Week, we're talking about aliens in general, check out the last video, which will be above Axis's head right there. You can click that, and it will take you to that. We talked about aliens, like where are all the aliens? Why don't we have new alien ships, and alien creatures?
Dude, where's my alien?
Dude, where are my aliens? That's probably what I should call it, the name of it. Dude, where's my aliens? All right, but for now, let's jump right into the questions. So the questions are starting with
Numerous.
Fred Eric Schultz on YouTube asks, lore-wise, we only, quote unquote, saw alien spaceships which release in lore-wise, we only saw alien spaceships which release is lore-wise in the past. Can you imagine we will see a ship being released timeline-wise in the future?
What?
I think what Fred's asking is we've only seen, like, all of the ships that we've seen in game from aliens are old ships. The Banu Merchantman, the Defender, the Talon, the Prowler, the Cartual.
Isn't the Sulan like a new thing?
It is new.
It's a newish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think it might actually be an export. Like, it may not even be made for the Xi'an market. It may be made specifically for humanity. It's sort of like their own version. It's probably the newest one. But I think we're asking is, like, do we think we're going to see more modern ones in the future? And I think yes, but not with some of the species. Like, I doubt we'll see new Banu ships. They'll all be Banu ships that are newer, but because they just like to upgrade their own tech. And we
that's something different. That's something different than the alien, or am I misunderstanding the question? Or
the question is more like, because like the Raylan is newish too, but I don't know if it's brand new. It's effectively the whole sea of the Xi'an.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
So, the Guardian is not a Xi'an ship. It is a human ship that is using Xi'an.
It is a human ship using a collaboration between Misk and one of the Xi'an companies to create POA, to create to migrate. Maybe I always had an issue with this because it's not Xi'an technology that I'm marketing, but it's philosophy and design.
Yes,
like an approach to thrusters and stuff like that, not actual alien technology that are just shoehorning.
No, it's Xi'an style thrusters, which are unique because the whole point of the Xi'an is they don't use reactive thrusters like RCS like we do. They use their thrusters themselves are the RCSs, so that allows them for like
but even then, if you look at the Guardian, it's got a bunch of maneuvering thrusters all throughout its wings, and so while the big thrusters at the back do pivot, and also on the Fury, it's still using smaller thrusters to help its maneuvering, unlike the Cartoal and the Santokiai, which only use the pivoting gimbaled main engines as for any direction.
And it's important to note that that's a unique aspect. That's sort of lore has changed a little bit. That's a unique aspect for AOPOA. AOPOA thrusters are used in other ships, but for the Gatak ships, they probably will not have those same sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they may have more RCS.
Doesn't. It's basically just.
Yeah. So I think originally the idea was they wanted to do that with all Xi'an ships, and then they sort of refined it down to being, well, this is AOPOA's thing, is they're sort of using the thruster as the main thrusters as the maneuvering thrusters. So,
Hey, can you do me a favor real quick? Can you do me a favor real quick? Can you smile so I can see where you are?
I would, but my teeth aren't that white.
Oh, okay.
I think the Xi'an would be the ones, the species that we would see brand new ships come from. You know, honestly,
just because of the program we have with them for transfer of intellectual
Huxa.
property and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have the Huxa, the Human Xi'an Trade Agreement. So we probably have more of that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an open. It's a basically not a free trade, but a mostly free trade agreement where
exchange of ideas and shit.
Yeah.
And what ship do you think will be the first Xi'an ship? Well, we had the Nox, but after that, obviously.
Oh, I think we'd probably see industrial ships because, like, CIG's lore tends to mirror what they do in terms of their new content. So I think when we get crafting and base building, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a crafting Xi'an ship or like a Xi'an
Pioneer.
ship. Yeah, like a Xi'an Pioneer.
Like I
yeah.
talked about in the previous video.
Yeah.
You should go check it out.
I think that's either going to be a Banu or a Xi'an ship, but I could definitely see a Xi'an Pioneer sort of approach to it. And I could even see it being sort of like the Xi'an in lore. I could see it justified as the Xi'an want to help humanity because humanity's dealing with all of these sort of internal conflicts. And so they'll sell humanity, the human militia, these ships, which are designed to build outposts. So not just like couching it as sort of like a militia port building ship, which is still just going to be a ship like a Pioneer, but they count it as more like a militaristic. So it's going to have more guns and designed for more defense and being like, we'll help you defend your empire, kind of.
Okay.
And so that, because that would also add some nice spicy drama inside the lore itself, because people be like, they're selling us, like Drake kind of thing. Like they're selling militias the means to defend themselves and making us look like fools for not being able to defend our own people. We need an outside government to protect our own people.
Would you like to know more?
Yeah. So, but that's also like that's clearly the direction they're going. Like mining, refining, construction, those sorts of things are going to be the future. So if we're going to get a new futuristic alien ship, it'll be one of those things.
Axis?
X, what do you think? What kind of ship, future ships? Because the ships right now, a lot of them are like old ships that were old and then they've been brought back. What kind of new alien ship might we see?
Definitely industrial, like mining or maybe even building, like alien structures or something. Fabrication, refineries.
I didn't even think about that. That is something that people have talked about in the past, is the idea that one of the things they could do is have different styles of construction. So like having a Xi'an ship that builds Xi'an structures.
Yeah.
So you have
you
a
might
different
get
style.
Contracts from the Xi'an Empire to do that. And it
know?
would be listed under whatever their government is, like the imperial government decree or something. Yeah. And it reads off first in Xi'an, and then it translates
to human to common, UE common. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I could see something from the Protectorate as well.
Oh yeah, I see the Banu doing the same thing.
Yeah. Do you think a base built with mostly alien styles building will be more of a target because there are in-game RPG people who hate alien stuff and just target you just because you have alien buildings? Or
I can see it. I can also see people.
There's a lot of them that those people.
Well, I could also see it that's the way CIG might do it in terms of RPG, even RPG mechanics, is like the Banu refineries might be just like the perfect refineries. Human refineries are sort of the middle of the road, and then if you build a Banu version, it's like the high end version of it. And then, but the Xi'an foundries aren't very good. But the Xi'an fabrications are just like excellent. The best fabricators you can buy are from the Xi'an. Or
high efficiency, low material loss.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the way they can.
Fast card. Of course that's gonna happen. Just like if you pull up in the wrong neighborhood in the South of America in a Honda instead of a Ford, you're gonna get your car keyed and your tire slashed.
Listen,
you know this.
We will look at them sideways and then ask them why they don't like American goods, and then you might suggest they might leave,
Mhm.
or an EV.
Is that the same? Is that the same response you have to people who put beans in their chili?
I put beans in my chili, but other Texans don't for
I've
some reason.
done this conversation. Where did this conversation come from?
I've been talking to a bunch of Texans, and one of the things how you get them riled up
is beans and chili.
Just saying that
beans belong in chili.
Beans. Yeah, beans chili without beans is basically spicy bolognese.
And congratulations, you set off chat. Chat is going crazy over there.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. If there's one thing that's gonna split chat is this.
Paul, you Midwesterner. No, it's because my wife is a Midwesterner, and my wife is from Indiana, right next to like literally right next to Cincinnati. So Skyline chili is what she knows how to make. So she always makes Skyline chili. And so whenever someone told me chili, I'm like, okay, Skyline chili is what I assume. But then I found out that Texans don't put beans in the chili, and I'm like, so you just put meat and water with chili sauce? Is that what you do? That's just beef
tomatoes.
soup and tomatoes. It's just beef soup.
Yeah, like I said, spicy bolognese.
So to bring it back to the conversation, do you think aliens like beans?
Yes, I think the Banu love beans.
Banu love beans.
Banu love beans. They love beans in any way you can cook them. Like or not cook them. They'll eat the beans dry. Be like, oh yeah, this is like chips. They love the famous story of the first Banu who ever made contact with humanity, Jerry. They gave him a plate like a table full of food, and he ate the whole table. Not the table itself, but like all of the food on the table. And some of that food came in. Some of the food came in wrappers. He ate the wrappers with the food because he didn't realize you had to unwrap it. So he just ate it. And they asked him later about it, and he's just like, "It was good."
I mean, do you eat the banana with the wrapper or without?
The banana is part of the wrapper, according to the Banu. Like that, like the banana is included. The wrapper is could part of it. So,
I can make a joke, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to make a watermelon joke, but I'll let it go.
All right, next question.
God, no, don't. Yeah,
comes from yep another Mike who asks, BMM before or after Star Citizen 1.0? They even said that. They said it's before. It said it's before.
Yeah, they said it before.
They said it's one of the few ships they're planning on before.
They can change their mind, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason, like Axis said, the reason why the BMM has been delayed so far is because they lost people who were just working on it, but the only people who knew how to handle that sort of geometry when it came to modeling.
Yeah.
So they need to relearn. People who are now in charge of it need to relearn how to, because it's a very organic thing. It's you have to start thinking about it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
How to just how to design it, but how to optimize it. That's the different. That's the hard part.
And
how
then,
to optimize geometry.
And then not only that,
still making it look
but
good.
then record it in a way that people can copy it in the future if they need to.
Yeah. So you have proper documentation. It's not just in your head, and when your body leaves the company, all of that knowledge leaves as well.
And I'm pretty certain what happened was that because that team was huge. It was like 10 people. It was a significant portion of the ship team left around that time. And that team, I don't think had done full documentation on everything they'd done yet when they left. They just sort of dropped it and left because Paul Jones?
Paul Jones.
Yeah, Paul Jones.
Paul Jones went to Ubisoft Canada.
And then he took a lot of that team with him because that was his team. So they left with him. And that happens off the top. That happens a lot in gaming. It's like
but at that point he was at the company for close than 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like you want a change of scenery. You want
he was also given a project himself.
Challenges, new ideas. Yeah.
He was given a full project himself. It's like, you going from being like the head of a department to here's a game.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that game. Which I'm still wondering what that game's going to be, or if it even still exists because of the problems with Ubisoft.
Oh God, with Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Geez, yeah. I mean,
but yeah, so which is one of the reasons why send him an email, ask for the design docs. I mean, he probably has the design docs, but there's a difference between.
But it's not. It's intuitive knowledge on how to create optimal geometry to run in a video game that still looks like it's meant to.
Yeah,
it's not just being able to design it, because everybody could design it from reference images, but it would run like shit. Just remember all those the old Freelancer that had more polygons than a Bengal carrier because every rivet was modeled. You have to know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to reiterate because I'm drunk and I like to repeat myself when I'm drunk.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say, Chaos Miku said send him an email, ask for the design doc. The problem is he no longer works for CIG, so he can't work for CIG.
Yeah.
That's too big issue.
And I'm sure he left the design docs. Like it's a matter of like there's no institutional knowledge there that was there before to teach other people how to do it. That left. That's one of the reasons why the CIG was scrambling to do like the F7. That's why they did the F8C and the F7A Mark II, was because the people who made those were still in part of staff, so they could get them to make them for Star Citizen. But they didn't have a team big enough to do a lot of those ships. So that's why that 1 year they just had no ships released because they had halved their ship team. And so there's probably some concepts of ships that were being worked on by some of those team members that are just gone because they were at some stage of development and they just were gone. We never saw.
At CitizenCon 2023 in LA, I talked to a developer who was taking over the project for the BMM, and they said that it'll be worth it when it comes out, but they didn't say it when. They just say when it comes out, it'll be worth it. So I feel better about that, but it's been now 2023.
But I do think we talked about it earlier. I do think that what Axis was talking about it, we talked about it before, that like they're doing stepping stone ships now. So I think that's probably, we're more likely to see a Banu trade man rather than the merchant man or some like moderate, some
what was it?
The trip taker.
Traversal trip taker. Yeah.
Something between the defender and the merchantman being released, and then
something for road trips. Yeah,
like a 400i, but for the Banu.
Yes,
something like that. And as Jakara says, the Ranger is a nightmare regardless of institutional knowledge. I have never met any developers, because Jakara works in the industry. I've never met a developer who likes modeling motorcycles. Every person I've ever talked to about developing stuff in games, if I bring up motorcycles, it's like, that famous image of the PTSD, of the guy with PTSD that's staring off in the distance. They get that look, the long stare when you bring it up. They're like, no, I don't want to think about that.
The Ranger and the Endeavor.
But then you have Alberto Petronio, who created the Pulse, and when talking to him, it's his baby. He loves it. It is but hover right now is just an extension of wheel. We know it's not proper hover. And anyway, if there's anyone who can make the Ranger, it'll be him.
Yeah. Oh, he'll probably be the one. But if they're gonna make, because it's not just the ship, it's not the vehicle, it's also the physics around making it.
Yeah.
And if they're gonna make the Ranger, they're gonna make multiple motorcycles. It's not just gonna be the Ranger. It's gonna be other ones.
Exactly. Yes. However, there is the Ranger RC, which is the red one, the racing one, and if it can't do the Akira slide, I'm selling my entire hangar.
Yeah, right. I agree.
That's what I mean.
That's what I still have that ship in my hangar. It's not like my backpack; it's in my hangar.
I know there's a lot of people who are mad right now because the ATLS ICT is coming out, and they're like, "I wanted the other cool ones that were in the concept images." It's like the reason why they have the ATLS is because there's going to be multiple versions of this, because they're not going to rig that thing up just for one-off thing. It's going to be a series of different vehicles that are going to have the same rigging or similar rigging to the ATLS. We'll see.
Yeah, I was excited. I was excited when the ATLS came out, but it was tempered because it wasn't a combat. It wasn't a Titan suit.
Yeah,
it was the ATLS. So,
it's like it's the
but
predecessor.
one thing about it is like it was the first vehicle that was converted to be an entity, so
Yes.
it can be brought up with the inventory system, which means they're progressing with that. So more land vehicles will be able to be brought up via the freight elevator instead of the actual ship elevator, which is good progress.
Great. All right. Elaine Anderson asks, how would you imagine a Hadesian starship would look like? Or what other unique way of thinking of it? So the Tavaran are the bird view, Xi'an are gravity, Vandul are blades, geometry, and religion. If I would say with the Hadesians, because the Hadesians, for those who don't know, are the ancient species that lived in the Hades system, what we call the Hades system. They blew themselves up. They killed themselves. They never discovered quantum travel.
They had a massive civil war.
Yeah, it has huge civil war.
I have an episode of Deep Space Nine in mind where Benjamin Sisko and Jake built a ancient Bajoran solar sailor,
and took it to
that
to
sort
Cardassia.
of stuff to Cardassia. Yeah, that sort of stuff. That is what comes to mind. Like elegant, almost Japan-y design, but even though they blew themselves up, I kind of feel like that's the sort of stuff that there's just a sailboat in space.
Well, they also have those. We see their relics because if you find a artifact in game, those are Hadesian artifacts. And so if you look at the
jade stone thing,
that have like the kind of pulse, and it makes a circle, which in lore we call the forbidden toilet seat.
Does it make a circle, or I thought it cut off at a quarter of it?
It does cut off at a quarter of a circle, but it's clear that they're designed in a circular
you can put 4 of them together into a forbidden toilet seat. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so I think
I would think
in terms of like my own design, my own desire, I would say like saucer, classic 50s saucer.
No, really?
Yeah. So, but Star Citizen sci-fi, they're more agreeables and stuff like that.
I would think if we could ever discover an Hadesian ship or vehicle, it has a 50-50 chance of blowing up when you turn it on.
Probably.
Unlikely.
It is also like 60,000 years old, so
right. Hell of a power supply. Hell of a power supply.
What about you, Axis? What kind of ships do you think the Hadesians would fly?
Well, we know a little bit about their what do you call it?
Biology.
Biology. They're almost like
anatomy.
Jellyfish.
No,
like jellyfish.
They're spider people.
Well, it's mentioned that the Phantom, the thing they see, is like
it's bipedal
jellyfish, stocky looking thing.
You're talking about the morphology.
The Hadesian Spectre, they call it, or whatever it's called.
The Hades
Ghoul.
Yeah.
The cryptid. Yeah, the Hadesian cryptid, because it's kind of like a jellyfish. So I'm thinking it'll have a lot of internal controls if that's its real biology.
I mean, I've always heard the cryptid is bipedal, but it has glowing veins. So maybe that's where you're getting because it's kind of like translucent with glowing veins.
They may have changed it. Who knows? But I mean,
and it's also it's not conclusive that the cryptid is actually Hadesian. It's just found in the Hades system. We don't know why.
It might be another species. Yeah, for all we know, the Civil War we're talking about may actually have been an invasion.
Hades system,
remember, archaeology is a very tricky subject. When you're looking at a dead species across 60,000 years, who knows? This species could, if it is a cryptid, maybe it was a attacker that got caught up in the explosion of Hades 4 somehow. And who's to say the attackers aren't still around? It's very Expanse-like. Like how the ring builders are all dead, but the invaders are still very much alive. Like,
Or the Civil War could have been just people who didn't want to sign up for the superhero act. You just give away their names and secret identity.
God
You
damn
don't
it.
know.
God damn it, Fast Card. All right, let's move on to the next question. Northern Trooper asks,
Perfect
how
timing.
would you handle it if CIG were to just announce a new alien race without lore or any lead up to a new race? Just bam, we as a community are exposed to a new alien race. It's
kill
Alpha.
Rothy, please kill Rothy. I want the kitty cat.
You're not going to get them, but
You're not gonna get them.
Oh no! Don't mention the kitty cats now. I can only think about the Kilrathi as the what were they from the Wing Commander series? The oh no,
There's a
If they ever
Kilrathi.
buy
The-
back
the-
Origin, they should do it just to spite
the
me.
Kilrathi, yeah.
They are the
I
kitty
mean,
cats.
if they would do it, I could see them doing an April Fool's Day and have them singing like the song from Cat, Memories.
They'll do.
But would they have the buttholes?
Oh God. So if they were to do Kilrathi as an April Fool's joke, they would just do Kilrathi backwards.
Yeah.
That's what they would do. They would have the name as an anagram or a Kilrathi backwards. It'd be
Okay, all right.
Privateer had them,
Palindrome,
yeah,
yeah.
because it's part of Wing Commander.
Hmm.
The thing about about alien races is that like it's an alpha. So like they could just drop in a race whenever. The problem would be more the disruption to the lore timeline. And we know CIG is very careful about that because they specifically introduced regen in a way that wouldn't question all of the past actions that were taking place because of how much of a huge issue that would be. So,
I actually like the name Jaded.
Itharaki.
Tarlik.
Sounds like something from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
No,
Although
very alien. Sounds good.
Yeah. Although something that was truly alien would be completely unpronounceable by human lips.
That's true.
What I really like, I would actually really like them just dropping in something that we had no idea, because you have in gaming, in tabletop gaming, and whatever, you always have to make the clear distinction between what the characters know and what you as a reader or as a player knows.
Yeah.
So the meta knowledge. So but we as players, especially if you're deep into lore, like maybe not as much as Paul, but someone who follows Paul, a Paul follower, you know a lot about everything that is happening in the verse that the regular person in Star Citizen wouldn't know. So for CIG to drop something on us that not only that the characters in Star Citizen wouldn't know, but we as players, outside observers wouldn't know, I would really welcome that, just because there's so much min-maxing when it comes to lore, having to know everything, and all the aspects of alien species and organizations and manufacturers. Something that is completely new would be amazing.
Yeah, especially if it's only found in one game.
No, I do have to issue a correction. I mean, it'll be something hard to pronounce by the human tongue unless you are a cunning linguist.
I don't know.
Yes.
Needs a little more salt.
All right. Next question comes from Slave Gunner, who asks, question, is the Kraken to the Privateer conversion kit still available? I couldn't find it at all. Do I need to melt my Kraken to get a Pioneer? So there is no conversion kit. It is a ship itself. So when you buy the Privateer, you're getting a Kraken Privateer. We don't know if, I know Execute has theorized that what's likely they're going to do is they're going to turn the Privateer into a conversion kit where you can get a version of you can swap out some of the internals, because that's what they're doing with the Idris. They'll do it as a modular kit where you can buy a Privateer aftermarket, but we don't have that information yet, if that's true or not. And it will be available again at IAE. But if you want to get a Pioneer, get a Pioneer. But I don't think Pioneers. Oh, they are now hull limited, aren't they? The Pioneers are. So, but yeah, it'll be the same kind of situation. I don't think they sold the Pioneer for Invictus though, right? They only sell that at IAE.
No, it's not a military ship.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Speaking of Invictus, this May was not only the best May for funding, it was the best month for funding.
Yes, it beat November 2023.
May ever. I mean, they pretty much say that for every month this year.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes, but May was best month for funding ever. Yeah. Not just best May.
Okay.
It was. I'm looking at it right now. It was 28,495,000. And
with 1 day to go, yeah,
with 1 day to go, and November 2023 was the previously best month of funding ever, which was 28,415,000. So it beat. It's already beat by like almost 100,000. And this update
with 1 day to go. And I'm guessing it'll be about 300,000 just because of the way it's been dropping off after Invictus.
Yeah. So if it's 300,000 on top of that, because they're still selling the Asgard attack, the Guardian, and the MTC. Like all of those are still being sold. So even though Invictus is over.
So this shirt, original,
yeah. There's no version.
The other shirt I had, the other shirt I had, copy of the one you got as an Idris owner. This shirt, completely original. And there's
second TV. Dodge is taking offers to take off his shirt, so just make him an offer.
All right.
They know my PayPal.
Next question comes from Wingzabber, who asks, what alien race would you like a hammerhead-sized combat ship from? Axis.
That's very specific.
Hammerhead size. Jian?
I could definitely see the Jian doing it. Okay. Easily.
Yep. Darsh?
Yeah. I feel like in terms of variety of ships, like humans, like Xi'an are. Now I'm doing it. Xi'an are the closest we've got because the Tavaran primarily militarily focused. Banu just whatever floats their boat. There's no rhyme or reason. It's whatever is better than it was before. That's what they're gonna make. But yeah. Xi'an, closest to the human sort of outlook and not outlook, but sort of
parody
development paradigm.
Yeah, I was gonna say parody in terms of like we're near peer in terms of what we are, and they're the only other
parity. But
they're the only other civilization that are almost as. Because we destroyed the Tavaran, so their civilization and incorporated them. So there's only 3 civilizations that really exist outside of humanity, or 4 if you count the Kathak,
the Boogeyman.
But the Banu have no desire to build something like a combat ship the size of a hammerhead. It would have to be the Xi'an. Maybe
how big is a hammerhead?
100 meters. About 125 meters.
Bit less, I would say, but yeah.
According to Sergeant Graham, the Banu measurement is 238 now.
Yeah, it's much bigger.
Oh yeah, it's the size, almost the size of an Idris. I think it's
the biggest duck in the verse.
I'm looking at the hammerhead right now. It is 115 meters long.
Is it 115?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Perseus is 100, so it's bigger than the Perseus.
My answer,
God.
I would.
That is so weird because the
Perseus doesn't look that small.
No, it doesn't.
It's pretty small. That's why it's only 4 person. So, fast card.
How small is it, Paul? No, I'm kidding.
It's a grower, not a shower. That's what I was going to say, fast card. It's a grower, not a shower.
No, but
it's got big 8 guns. All right, it's 8 to 10-inch guns. Okay.
Yeah, it looks.
How
it
you
looks
use
like
it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
It's how you use it.
Listen. It may look small,
like
but But those guns, they are 8 to 10 inches, as Darsh likes to say. So
yeah. Would you say it punches above its weight class?
oh yeah, I would say it loves to punch above the weight class.
For my answer, I wanted to say Van Duel for this question, but instead of doing what a hammerhead would do, it slices.
There we go. So instead of a hammer, it's a saw.
It's a saw. Well, a knife.
A knife, yeah.
A big ass knife.
It's an axe.
Maybe a Bible blade. A Bible blade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next question. It's not small, it's cold in space.
It was in the pool.
Bracer Phoenix asks, does Vanduul not doing any experiment?
What?
Can't read that.
I don't know what that is. Sorry, Bracer.
Is that English?
No. Bracer's main language is French, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. No, but it's like maybe they do they not innovate?
Yeah.
Is maybe that
they do?
The
Oh,
point
do
of the
Vanduul not
question.
innovate?
Oh, they do.
I think they conquer and assimilate, but in actual innovation.
Well, we do know that because like the original version of the Scythe struggled with the Gladius, because the humanity learned how to beat the original Gladius with the original Scythe with 2 Gladiuses. They created a bunch of different specific maneuvers to deal with the Scythe. So like humanity basically raffle stomped the original. They curbed the original invasions by the Vanduul into Orion. They beat the crap out of the Vanduul. It was like a one-sided contest. Once humanity knew what the Vanduul were, it was a joke, which is why they didn't defend Orion properly, because they're just weird raiders who show up out of nowhere to do things, and we just punch them really hard and they run away. So fuck them.
Do you know if the Vanduul make experience on stuff humane? What?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the saying? Do you know if the Vanduul make experience on stuff humane? I think he's talking about like make stuff for humans, maybe?
No, they don't.
No.
Oh, the only thing they make for humans is death.
Yeah. Go ahead, Axis.
Yeah, basically.
Although I will wager this. This may be very unlikely, but I could definitely see some spiteful Vanduul who don't like their species in particular, who kind of don't like humans, but still might make a bargain with you.
Kind of like the Vanduul that deal with the Banu.
Yeah, kind of like shrewd but violent shopkeepers like this. Hang on. You again.
Yeah.
Make sure you knock.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Right? Something very gruff.
And
they can like broken basic, you know?
Yeah.
So it'd be like a Vanduul and crossed with Bane.
Yeah.
From Batman, basically.
Batman. Yeah.
No, but do you know if? Oh God. You know what the lore behind the driller is? That would seem kind of innovative for Vanduul, unless he stole it from someone else.
The driller is the. I want to say the driller is the. Is that the ship that drops the harvesters? I want to say
it's a carrier.
Yeah, it's a carrier.
Is that not the drill? I remember the trailer that they put out.
Try to analyze DNA and understand their weird brain. Oh, do you think that they do experiments on humans? I don't think the Vanduul care enough to experiment on us.
I don't think they do that.
The Vanduul,
they're more interested in just taking the planet for the raw resources than trying to understand what makes us tick.
There are scientists of the Vanduul, but they're mostly focused on like how can we fight and be more efficient at fighting.
Really better, yeah. I don't see the Vanduul being a type of alien race to do alien probes. That's not them.
No.
No, that's more Xi'an.
So Bracer also asks, do you think we're going to have a version of Tribbles in Star Citizen?
I think that came from the discussion where we're talking about
Yeah,
like
that
the
was the
cute,
earlier
The
one,
cute
right?
stuff.
yeah, the cute
flow
stuff. Yeah,
pets,
Tribble.
yeah.
I would love a Tribble analog in Star Citizen, and CIG could easily do that as a nice joke. Just because for those of you who don't know, if you've watched
Well,
Star Trek, a Tribble is just a fuzzy rock. It's basically just in terms of like it's a prop. It's just like a fuzz ball that they added in, like,
but it makes the
and then
cutest
after that,
sounds.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it reproduces like crazy.
It reproduced like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fun part is that it's totally, the prop team was just like, we can make a fuzzy ball, and it's sort of cute and we
can make
sense.
thousands of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can have them
is,
as the interesting
like
props.
The flow pet. The flow pets are very much like those.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I could see them doing something like a Tribble, which is just like like instead of it being a rock, it's like a tube of fur, and it just goes over all the time.
I know what they are.
Like a benign thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
I
8
just,
or 10.
I just put in a GIF of what Tribbles are like.
Yeah.
But then there's an attack Tribble that was confirmed in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. With teeth.
Teeth.
Tribble with teeth.
I
mean, they gotta eat somehow, right?
Yeah. Right.
Scape asks, if you were going to hit the space equivalent to an airfield, would you rather equip missiles or rockets? I mean, spaceports or starports?
What?
So Scape has this thing where he wants a ground attack version of the Talon, where instead of Talon Strike, but instead of having missiles, you have rocket pods.
So dumbfire stuff.
Yes.
Dumbfire rockets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want something dumb versus smart, basically.
Yeah, basically something you could do ground attack on rather than because you can do that, but you have to lock on with missiles, and you can fire missiles blindly, but they don't actually. They just kind of go all over the place rather than just straight.
It's not an either or question because both have
True.
Yeah, both have merits. Like if you have something that you know that's slow enough moving that you can just lead and fire at appropriate time, then rockets are fine because they will fire faster, they will travel faster, and they will hit what you want because they don't have to do any steering. They can just do thrust and boom. But then on the other hand, if you have something that's a lot harder to hit, you would want to do lock on and then do that sort of gameplay.
It's not an either or. Game?
What?
Oh, Rattler's still in game?
Yes.
Yeah,
Rattlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're pretty popular.
Those are my favorite.
I think a lot of
my favorite.
I believe you can swap out a lot of the rockets inside the Firebird with Rattlers because they're size 3s. So someone asked, do aliens take humans as slaves? Yes. The Banu don't. To call Banu slavery is kind of weird because it's not really slavery.
Indentured servitude.
Yeah, but it's
closer to it.
If I have to call him master, then that's a slave.
It's not even a master thing though. It's master slave thing. It's more of, I know you get a fast card, but it's more of a you sign a contract for a certain number of years, and once those years are up, you're good. And you can actually huh? Yeah, it's like ironically, ArcCorp does it too. ArcCorp and Hurston.
Really?
ArcCorp gets away with it because Hurston's are worse. But ArcCorp only pays in script, so you can, and it's only an ArcCorp script. So you can only, if you work for ArcCorp, you get paid in their money, and you can only use it at their stores. So you can never earn enough money to get off the planet. Whereas Hurston, they're just you sign a lifetime contract, you're not leaving here. So to a Banu, ArcCorp and Hurston are evil. They're at least we give you options to leave. You can. There is an eventual timeout on this contract. Eventually, you are gone.
Yeah.
So.
But you can count on Hurston and Orcor propaganda to paint the Banu in a bad light.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. Isn't that how that song goes?
So, but yeah, and
Yeah, we're getting eagles in Star Citizen. Come on, man.
Who's the main singer for the Eagles? We can have him in Star Citizen.
Yeah, the change puts like Banu like you. They want you as part of their Suli. You belong and are protected. It's sort of like a weird. It's more cult. It's more of a cult than so you're not really a slave as much as you are a employee of a cult.
Hey, Paul,
apprenticeship
right
with a cult.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, but you learn stuff there, right?
Okay.
Momentarily.
All right.
Right. When he comes back, I'll also leave for our refill.
We're almost done. We've got a handful of questions
left. Okay.
But we've also been going for 45 minutes, Darge.
That all?
So Escape asks, what idiosyncrasies can you think of for alien races, like beak clacking or screech whistles by a Tavaran?
Have you ever seen a starling just chitter away?
No.
They are amazing mimics of everything, not just human speech, but sound effects. Like, not as good as the Supreme Lyrebird, but very similar. They can mimic like camera shutters and car alarms and I've seen almost better than parrots. I've seen starlings actually when they were left at home just trigger Alexa to play stuff just because they were just repeating what the humans were saying.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good at it. But on the other hand, you have birds that just do whatever
random noises they want.
They do. Yeah, whatever those, like there's a shoebill in Australia, the huge thing. Sounds like a fucking machine gun. When it's banging its beak together. The big beak is this big. But
yeah.
So I can't even
know
if.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Pascal.
Do we know if any other aliens have the need to go the opposite way than humans? They flow the other way? Or do we not know that yet? Because we've seen pictures of them, but we haven't really seen them walk. But I would imagine
walk backwards or whatever.
Not walk backwards, but I mean the need instead of
no.
But you're talking about Digiblade versus Plantigrade.
The knees go.
The reverse knees.
The knee is in the body, and it's the ankle. That's where the knee usually is in the leg. Yeah. That's why it looks like their legs are backwards, but it's just weirder position.
And I think that
Tavaran have that.
Yeah,
because from what I've seen, like they walk on the fingertips, and they have the ankle high up
stuff because they have beaks. So
yeah. But like I said, I was talking about like starlings and the Supreme Lyrebirds that don't do that. So it's a possibility that as a species progresses, they will need to not come across, but they will need to develop modes of communication that are more than just mating calls.
Yeah,
so much more complex.
In snarls.
Yeah, but I mean, more idiosyncrasies like how we say or like we have like those pause words that each species, like each language in human language has its own sort of like
I know
breakup words.
Like that Japanese. For the divine, I would have to say they would definitely hate fried chicken.
Yeah, that would be like a major insult. Hey, Kentucky Fried Bird.
But the
I mean, we eat pig, and pigs are very similar.
I would say the Banu, they seem to already have with the actor they have for Wick. They kind of go that's sort of like interrogative, or like they're just like
that's just Finnish.
Yeah, um, yeah.
Perkele vitun satana. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I think CIG could I don't have faith in them, but they could come up with unique, weird sort of like in between words, and there might actually be in some of the language guides.
Yeah,
like
but I would love
but...
to like because they have to learn common. The Tavaran have to learn common to integrate into the UE. But there's some that have bless you, that have like problems coming up with remembering the words or syntax structure to communicate with you, and they just for half a sentence they just switch to Tavaran and then remember they have to speak in common and then correct themselves. And yeah, exactly.
I love that
curse in Tavaran because they can't remember what it's supposed to say in common.
I would love for an alien race to talk like Yoda. That'd be great. I would love that.
All right. Next question comes from Stephen. If you need to go, Darsh, go for it.
Yeah.
Who asks, would you rather have aliens in passively in the PU or see them in instance fleet battles? Both?
Say that again?
So would you rather have aliens in passively in the PU or see them in instance fleet battles? I think the question is like, would you rather see them in sort of all over the place or only in instances? And
I like to see them all over the place myself, but I mean,
especially like Area 18, I'd expect that to be a place to be crawling with various different alien species like Xi'an and Banu and
large
Tavaran.
Population centers obviously are going to have like a mix of races.
You're thinking in the short term? In the short term, I would prefer them passively rather than combat. It would add.
I mean, go ahead. I can imagine seeing them on Orison.
Yeah, easily. And I think that adds a lot more because right now it's just clothing and humans. But I think like you go to a place like Hurston, you'd probably only see Banu if you saw any other species, maybe Tavaran. But then you go to a place like Area 18, you would see all of them. And then you go to a place like Orison, you might see Tavaran and like Xi'an. And then you go to a place like Arcorp and you might see, Xi'an and Banu, so that way you could have the where the populations are will also tell you where you are in terms of the kind of style that you're experiencing. I think that adds a lot more to the immersion of the game when you have them in passively versus just I want to kill them. I think that's easier to do as well, is to have them just walk around aimlessly in a city than it would be for them to like program unique combat for their species.
Hey, dog, do we mind giving me a ginger ale?
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Bring me a drink, please.
I'm out of gingers.
Okay.
Axis, would you rather see in the short term, sort of passive alien species, sort of just in the background, or would you rather see them in combat?
Kind of a mix. Like in regions like, okay, we're not anywhere near Xi'an space at the moment, but as we go towards systems like Hadrian, which are more on the border, like a slow buildup of them in the background, according to political borders, I guess you could say. Yeah. Because see, we're in Stanton. Going toward Pyro, we might see the occasional, because it's toward Hadrian, And once you get into Hadrian, which is one of the former Perry line systems, you might see more than just the occasional Xi'an. You might see military versions, like, hey, this area is off limits. Say on a moon that's a Xi'an base on a moon around one of the Hadrian gas giants. I kind of think there'll be more than just, a group here, group there. There'll be kind of like a slow build-up. And then you also have instance battles where you have a Xi'an fleet engaging a group of human pirates.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be in like Stanton though.
No, it won't be Stanton.
Yeah.
More than likely not.
Yeah.
From a technological point of view, it would make more sense for them to do skirmish type space encounters with aliens before like social encounters, just because all they need to do is put an alien in a cockpit of a single-seater fighter and then have the AI take over to fight. It's not like you're actually interacting with anything that's completely different from a human at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you just see a Banu walking around, you can't like talk with them. They'll just stand there and walk around. Like
I mean, you can try.
You know? Yeah, but you can't like talk.
You can talk at them.
Yeah.
You can talk. You can't talk at them. They just won't say anything back.
Yeah.
Fast Cart, what do you think?
They'll photosynthesize in your direction.
Didn't I go first?
Okay, I guess we can just move on.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up. Stay Crew asks, do you think we will get any alien industries companies to gain rep with? If so, which companies would you like to work for?
Banu. That's how you get the Banu Musherman. That's
the Suli.
That's that's the thinking that we have right now.
They will CIG won't do it just because they have dollar signs in their eyes, but it would be amazing if the first BMM you could get would be through script through Banu Suli.
Yeah.
Or favors, not script.
That's a lot of grinding. Not that I mind.
That's the sort of grinding I'm for. Yeah.
I think I think that would probably be the first one is clearly the Banu because they're freaking everywhere. So that would make the most sense. And then after that,
technically you already do it with Wicklow, right?
Yeah, we already have Wicklow, so that would make sense too because he's already technically his own. And he has his own currency.
Yeah, just put like other Banu stations out in other star systems because, like we had Cryastro.
Yeah,
but it'll be Banu.
And we know that they have the Banu Suli, which is just the blanket name for when they deal with any human interaction. So there should be some sort of loose association, kind of like how we have now with the different guilds. The Banu Suli could be an easy sort of overarching group. Like Wicklow could be part of the Banu Suli, which is just sort of like he's just one factor of the whole group of that reputation. So they have some sort of, as the old joke about Banu bucks, the Banu favors, which you can gain from each of them, and they can be exchanged back and forth through all the different groups.
But besides the Banu, like for another alien race or industries or companies that would probably want to do rep with, probably Xeon, because I imagine they would have kick-ass weapons.
That and they also have a fuel company. There's a human fuel company which is owned by the Banu. It's one that's advertised in the verse too. I can't remember the name of it, but they're famously a human company which was failing that I think it was failing that the Banu the Xi'an purchased. And
you said Banu.
I said Banu. I meant Xi'an.
Okay.
Yeah, I meant Xi'an.
Okay.
The Xi'an purchased them, and then they either purchased them or they founded them as sort of like a human sounding like shell company so that they could sell fuel in human space. And because they're much better at refining fuel than humans are, they actually are able to sell them at super cheap rates.
Isn't that how? Real quick, isn't that how Alpoa came to be? Because it sounds alien, but it's not. But it's human.
No, it's actually.
Lefty! Oh no, Lefty Xi'an or the
shell company. Oh. What were you gonna say, Darsh?
Oh God. Okay.
In introducing different categories or quality tiers of fuel would be interesting, like that. Like you get regular fuel for much cheaper than you will with the humans, but you can also get fuel plus that costs as much as human fuel, but gets you 50% further and stuff like that, or has better acceleration for some reason, and to counter the blades.
Yeah. Axis, how about you? What companies, alien companies, would you like to gain rep with?
Sorry, I missed that.
The question is, do you think we'll get in any alien industries companies to gain rep with? And if so, which companies would you like to work for?
Probably the ones that already deal with human space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Apoa. What's the other one? The one that makes the railing. It's a different house.
Gatak.
Yeah,
Gatak.
And
you
No,
say Gatak.
no.
You say Gatak. I say Gatak.
Gatak.
Yeah, but they saying attack. So
trying to think of who else would. Maybe if we, you know what I would like to see though, a Tavaran manufacturer. Asperia makes their version of Tavaran ships, but it would be funny.
Politically, are Tavaran allowed to own production facilities?
That's a good question. Maybe the Tavaran senator could produce them,
create provisions.
Yeah, you know, under provisions and full disclosure of technology, which is fine.
By the way, it could. I was going to say, I looked it up. It's CTR is the fuel company that's owned by the Xi'an. It's owned by Jushio Company Corporation, which is a shell business for the Xi'an. Sorry.
Every Xi'an company is a shell company.
Ha.
Yeah. That's funny.
Apparently, they have the Xi'an culture prides itself on efficiency and repair operations conducted by and repair operations conducted by CTR are prime example. In a study, researchers found 23% improvements over human companies in terms of repair speed, with very little differential in terms of quality. So they're better at repairing than other groups are. So. All right, let's move on to the next question. Bracer Phoenix asks, do you think we'll make a giant spider species one day? Yes, of course they will, because CIG wants to make everyone's nightmares worse.
Yeah, exactly. But they also show that the crabs, that they're not just like the size, but they're like house sized. They're there, just need 4 more legs.
Yeah. That's the species. That's the species I talked about that nests inside Rex. They're just spiders. They're just space spiders, void space spiders.
I'm not. Oh God, I'm not going to space anymore ever again. I'm just gonna stay on our corp and enjoy the rain.
Stephen Mancy asks. Stephen Mancy asks, "What's your thoughts on Apex Valakar we got being intended for 4 players and could be taken down with handguns? Personally, I expected 300 meters tall being requiring a lot more." Alpha.
Yeah,
it's alpha.
But also something I saw on Reddit during the break was someone just one-shotting it with an intercept railgun.
Yeah. It's just, it needs balance is what it is. And I don't think the one that we have is 300 meters. I think it's 200 meters. So even though the Apex
150 or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 150. It's actually smaller than an Idris, the actual Apex.
Oh, it's not the size that matters.
Nope.
So
you should know this.
There's already a long post I think from Zach about the balance being ongoing. I think at one point
balance being ongoing is like every day at CIG and every gaming company.
I mean, I think balance ongoing will be a thing past 1.0, past 2.0.
If I remember correctly,
the only constant,
the projection weapons of the Valakar is, I believe, like the way they did it is they just modeled into P4. They just put a P4 in its mouth and had it shoot at people. And I know a lot of people are mad. It's like, this is lazy. And it's like, it's probably done because they wanted to like have it work like a P4 or something, or it was just a temporary model they were putting in there to see.
Easy.
Yeah.
They don't want to add 5 years to the project.
Yeah.
You should have done the railgun. That would have been better.
The thing is that's important for people to know is that every game company reuses assets, and the famous one is that there's no real working version of like transport vehicles in the Gamebryo engine. There was none, so they had a monorail system that for Fallout New Vegas. They wanted to make it work. And so what they did was they literally had the monorail be this monorail thing, which was basically the head of a NPC. And so below the monorail,
NPC walked on the ground.
At high speed. So it looked like it was a moving vehicle, but it was actually just an NPC that you could ride in its head.
Oh.
Yeah, Fallout 3 DLC had a similar thing and that kind of stuff. So like there's solutions that they're moving around for that sort of thing. The subway car was a hat. I thought it was a head. It's a hat. Okay, yeah.
Hat, yeah.
One thing I'm curious about with manufacturers, I know we've probably moved questions.
Yeah.
But
several times.
We've talked about ships, vehicles. What about suits?
We already have some of that. Like the Xi'an armor and stuff like that. But
I mean, I'm just saying, what if we decided to give Cyrene's children's design to the Xi'an and see what they could make?
They may already have something like that.
Yeah.
Stephen Massey asks, if you're able to choose the next Apex, what would it be? Describe the animal and what should we expect? The next Apex level, I would say, just for fun, for jokes, the Apex Grazer. No, the Apex Alaprat. The Apex
Alaprat, yeah. Or what was that? What are those worms that you can get in Pyro for on a stick? The slugs, yeah. One of those.
But in reality,
it'll be something. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, in reality, what I really want is the full family of whip crabs, and I can see because whip crabs are a hive species. We know that there is a queen, a mother who controls all of them, like psychically, or like through pheromones or something. So there should be like a worker version, a soldier version, and then the queen. So the worker being the weak, soldier being strong.
And they will sing.
And yes.
It's a Mass Effect.
The Mass Effect reference, yeah. I'd love to see, and so the Apex would just be the queen. So if the middle version is a soldier and it's 20 story or 2 stories high, it's like 20 feet, like 6 meters tall. Then you'd have one that's the queen should be almost double that, and the worker should be half that. So like 3 meter tall, 6 meter tall, and 12 meter tall.
Yeah, but you have to remember, if it's double tall, that means it's eight times the size.
Yes,
because of volume.
Yes, I want a gigantic thing, the huge, 12 by 12 meter gigantic, but basically motionless creature.
Those when they collapse, they're indistinguishable from rocks, right?
Yeah, when they curl up and sleep, they'll look like
yeah. So you know how, especially if I say his name, will I invoke his presence? HC Vertigo talks about all the rocks and boulders on the surface of planets and moons. What if each and every one of those
is a whip crab?
Is a crab.
Kill me now.
For me, if I were to choose the next Apex, it would be something small and cute with big eyes.
It would be some kind of legend. Apex legend.
Oh my god.
It'll be kind of like maybe a chihuahua with a bigger attitude.
Yes, there we go.
He already has jokes up the wazoo. You don't have to feed him more, Paul.
Is that where the jokes come from? The wazoo.
The wazoo, yeah. That's the scientific term for it. Yes, the joke repository is the wazoo.
Axis, how about you? What would you like to see for the next Apex?
Okay. No, I'm not going to say a cat. Hush. Whoever said cat. Okay. I'm going to go the aquatic route since it's uncharted territory at all. Say we get a predator species like a shark or something. And then we get something that's like megalodon size, which I'd be like, and it can leak out
like
of the
water,
maybe hitting ships.
And then you could put it inside a tornado and call it
No.
Yes. More atmospheric damage. You're flying through a storm.
Letty has a good idea. Apex Kraken. Actually, cephalopods.
That would be.
Octopus are very adaptable.
I would.
Can you imagine?
I'd love to see a like what is it from Lord of the Rings, where like this giant cephalopod just emerges out of a lake and it's just like no.
Oh.
You can't just.
I mean, if you have an apex Kraken against a Kraken, who would win? No, never mind.
Yes, Kraken versus Kraken, ultimate battle.
I mean, it's not a hard slice. Look at in the real world. Giant squid's like what, 60 meters?
Yeah.
A giant squid isn't even the biggest squid.
Nope. Which they found the bigger one, didn't they, recently?
The colossal
squid.
Which is funny because we just discovered it, and people have been saying that thing was a freaking myth for hundreds of years. And
Loch Ness monster.
Yeah. The thing is, giant squid isn't the name of the species. It's the name of what it represents.
Yeah.
The manifestation of it. So whatever the bigger squid is, should be the giant squid. Right? And if you find a bigger one, that's the giant squid. Yeah.
All right. Chaos Miku asks, do you think the first iteration of base building is actually coming later this year? And if it is, does that mean they're going to be releasing the Pioneer, or are we going to have smaller tools vehicle base building? To answer that latter part first, we already know they said that the Pioneer will not be available with the first iteration of base building. They said that right off the bat, that they don't anticipate the Pioneer being available when base building releases. They did say that the BLD, I think, is going to be there as part of it, and then also their little push cart one that they have, and then the Argo vehicle one that we had the 4 SCU the truck version. That one's going to have a version which has a drone for building kind of stuff. So that is for sure. In terms of, are we going to see it this year? Axis, what do you think? Do you think we're going to actually see the first version of base building this year?
If we do, it's going to be really late in the year. It's not going to be.
So I was going to say no. They will get crafting this year, but not base building.
I think we will get base building in the first iteration, but I think it'll likely be a preview. Like, I think we're going to get Nyx this year, but it's likely going to be a preview. It's going to be one of those CIG sort of rushes it out at the end of the year as an EPTU so they can have it technically release. And,
a proper preview build branch thing.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say that maybe they have another preview during CitizenCon and get it out the door just before the end of the year, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, they're already talking about doing an EPTU / they're calling it EPTU now, but it's like the preview, like they did with 4.0 for engineering for this next patch.
Jump points.
Yeah, and for what?
Yeah, jump points.
Oh
they had a preview. Yeah, and remember that the first couple of previews for jump points were jank as fuck. Compared to the smoothness we have right now, there's like a completely different night and day. Yeah, you basically, what I did, if you weren't part of that, you entered the jump point in Stanton, and then you were deposited in Pyro in the exact same spot. Not where the jump point was supposed to be, but what it did was unload Stanton, reload Pyro, and not teleport you.
Yeah,
which was hilarious. So you're in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, they fixed it. Took them how long? You would say like a quarter, half a year?
Yeah, 3 to 6 months is to actually fix that.
Yeah, 1 to 2 quarters. Yeah. So if we get a preview for base building at the end of the year, I suppose you could get a completely stable, functional, but maybe not feature rich building at about this time of year.
Yeah, around either at or right after Invictus.
Yeah, Invictus. Yeah. Mm.
All right. Stephen Mancy asks, do you think that proper engineering will solve the capital gameplay? Everyone is currently expecting them to be soloable. Yes and no.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
because the problem right now is that everyone is right now. You can use a Polaris and an Idris.
Okay.
You can use them solo, but in the future, you're going to have to manage power. So like we already have power management right now, but it's going to be to the point where to fire the Idris railgun or laser, probably especially the laser, is going to require a lot more power being put into that weapon specifically to have it fire. And that management, that micromanagement of power managing is going to be what engineering is a big part of engineering. So
one thing they could really do to make multi-crew ships actually multi-crew and not soloable is the pilot does not have access to that.
Yes.
The pilot's MFDs cycle only through pilot shit.
Mm-hmm. And then having a co-pilot.
Engineering, you have to go to the co-pilot, the engineering station, if you want to change engineering stuff. Yeah.
And they have specific engineering stations all over ships these days. So it may be that the engineering stations themselves are bespoke. So you have to go to those stations to fix those things. So you will need to be able to change power.
All the power management and allocation shouldn't be at the hands of the pilot unless you specifically kit out your ship with all the necessary blades, but that should be like
expensive,
halfway end game. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say she can't fire, Captain. She needs more power.
Well, fuses be the
and it should be able to just go pick. Now I can fire. No, someone else has to do it.
Yeah,
someone else has to do it. Exactly.
Will fuses be the end of engineering? No, fuses are simply a designed to break when they're taking damage. So like they'll you have to swap them out because they'll be worn down over time, but they also are designed because like how fuses work in reality is they're designed to prevent fires.
Yeah,
they overload and kill the circuit.
When you take damage and you have a power surge somewhere in the system, the fuse is supposed to take the damage and prevent it spreading to systems that can then take damage and take fire and then continue that. Yeah, that's what fuse is supposed to do. And when the damage ends and systems stabilize, replace with a new fuse, operation continues.
Yeah. So I think the big thing that people are missing with engineering is that two things are going to be true. No ship is going to be able to use all of its weapons and shields and thrusters at the same time. You'll never be able to max out all of those. You might when they have upgradable tiers, like when a ship can go up in value, like or go up in its tiers, or with better components. But the only is almost likely the only ships that will be able to do a lot of that will be the larger ships, and those ships will require an engineer to actually manage those power allocations in a way that you can actually function properly. There'll be some balance.
I'm gonna disagree, Paul, because when CIG starts selling 100 blades for $100, then you can do all that.
Yes, when CIG sells the the engineering blade, you don't have to do anything for $100. You can do that.
So long as it's not like you navigate via MFD and you get a pop-up, would you like to buy this blade for $100 and install it immediately?
Yes, that's the only way to do it.
Wasn't that like oh god, no, don't tell me the old EA CEO's idea,
reloading
the CEO of Discord. Pay to reload quickly.
Yeah.
That was a thing, really?
Yes, it was.
Heard about that.
He proposed. He actually filed a patent for the idea of being able to pay to reload your ammunition.
Wow!
In Battlefield.
Wow!
So instead of it was like when you ran out of ammo in Battlefield, you could.
Yeah, I believe you. I get it.
Like microtransaction.
Can I 3D print a guillotine, like human-sized guillotine?
Yeah, and I don't know.
I think the French made a mistake in the 70s when they retired the guillotine. They should have just kept it around. And that is a fun fact. The guillotine was last used in the 70s, 1970s.
My full final answer on it, and it's up to you if y'all want to agree or disagree on this one, is that ships, capital ships, will be soloable and that you can operate them solo, but you can't be efficient with them solo.
Right. I agree.
There's going to have to be some balance there, because there's also the idea that like CIG doesn't want lower tier weapons to be able to damage ships of larger tier ships. Like size 4 and below aren't supposed to be able to do anything to larger tier ships, larger size ships, like shields.
Yeah.
But then you have a situation where one person brings out an Idris, another person brings out like a freelancer, and it's like, oh, well, the Idris, the freelancer can't do anything to the Idris, but the Idris can't actually function fully, but they can just still be a jerk. They can still like belly flop into other ships and like block entrances and stuff like that. So
the sort of minimum threshold for to actually be able to do damage, that's like from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, right? Didn't AD&D have something like that?
Yeah, you had to have,
and they abandoned it for AD&D 2.
Yeah, for it was D&D and then Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It was like
Advanced, AD&D,
Advanced was like the
second
sort
of tables you had to look up. That was
the third edition. You think,
gentlemen, roll initiative.
Yeah.
Pathfinder.
I don't really like that. If you can only fire top guns on your ship, all the fighter has to do is go below, and the engineer has to struggle to swapping out the power from top to bottom turrets. So what? That's why you have for larger ships. That's why you have PDCs. But yeah, if you want an entire, not an entire episode, but a large episode where we talked a little bit about this, we actually talked about that at the last after dark. We talked about this more extensively.
Link above Ax's head.
Yes.
Just giving Paul more work.
An hour, 21 minutes. All right, so we're almost done. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 questions left. Stakeru asks, as we have collaborated with aliens to make ships and do trading, do you think they mingle our cultures well, such as racing, etc.? Yes. Actually, it's explicitly mentioned that
the Banu love racing.
The Banu love racing. They love competition. They love Sadaball. They've learned to love sports.
And they cheer for both teams.
Yeah. And the Xi'an like have an entire.
I just hope both teams have a good time.
They're just here for the love of the game, man. Yeah. And then the Xi'an have an entire subculture of human enthusiasts who think that humans have the right way of looking at things. Because Xi'an lives for so long, they take things very slowly. Like everything has a time. But there's a subculture of younger Xi'an, 60.
Oh, God.
Who are
like... It's like a kawaii version.
Yes.
Thing. Oh, God.
The weeaboos of humaboos.
Oh, God.
Where they want to embrace the human style of living.
Ooh.
So like you have they have like it's all very very quick, like get things done, be more efficient, it's like less thinking long term and more thinking in the short term. Live life in the now rather than in the future. That's sort of their view, and it's heavily influenced by human culture and human society. And then there's the Tavaran, who have effectively half embraced human culture and half not. They sort of melted their own culture within human culture. So
by law.
Yeah. Well, by their own culture standards, like they've sort of developed this idea of being able to retain your identity as a Tavaran while also being a citizen of the UEE and speaking common and doing the things that humans
they
were to do.
Defeated in combat, so they're just basically just like bowing to the victor, or
Well, it's part of Tavaran culture is you assimilate to your whoever. If you lose in combat, you assimilate to the victor's culture. It's part of the expectation. But it's also
so that was like within Tavarans with different tribes, etc. But now it's like a completely cultural thing. Like the entire Tavaran civilization did that according to their customs,
basically. And that's sort of the move forward, is that instead of trying to reject humanity and defeat humanity, embrace humanity and make humanity part of the Tavaran, and so that the Tavaran and humanity are effectively indistinguishable in terms of their cultures. And by increasing the number of Tavaran who are citizens, they can have a much larger impact on the political nature, so that they can have more of a say in the culture, in the government than they do currently. So,
Oh, very insidious.
yes,
Yeah.
but it's like
Maybe not intentionally, but
it's more in the
it's
way
like,
of
it's like the Federation in ginger ale.
yeah, the whole idea is because like in the process of the Tavaran becoming citizens, they also have to change their own way of thinking, because they're going to have to join the military. They have to fight alongside humans. They're going to have to experience things that they wouldn't experience if they were just around the other Tavaran.
Oh,
You
it'd be
know,
amazing in Squadron 42 you had just a random shipmate that was
hey, Wing Commander 3 and 4
Tavaran.
had your wingman who was a Karathi. I forgot his name.
What?
You didn't know that? There's
I
an
never
No.
did that. I never played.
yeah.
Give me a Vanduul
Hobbs.
co-pilot who kills everything.
Hobbs is a beloved character in the Wing Commander series.
Right.
So,
Okay.
w-
Also,
he-
Jaded,
w-
yes, I
w-
apologize. It's root beer, not ginger
Yeah.
ale.
was Hard based on Warp from TNG by any chance?
He might be, but like because he was around the same time. And the thing is that like if I remember correctly, he's one of the best wingmen in the game. Like
Yeah.
you
That
fly
makes
with him,
sense.
he's very good. He's one of the best. And there's even I remember lines
Is
in Wing
there
Commander.
one called Calvin?
I think Hobbs is
Human called
his
Calvin.
Hobbs is his call sign. It's not his name. It's his call sign. Kind of like how you have Maverick as the.
But it would make sense because he's a cat.
Yes,
So
it is a reference. It is a reference
why-
to Calvin and Hobbes. Yes.
Oh
Never knew.
god.
I didn't
Okay.
even think of that. Okay.
But yeah, no, I remember even a line where you have Mark Hamill trying to argue with the Admiralty, being like, Hobbs is the best fighter pilot I've ever seen. You can't like ban him from flying. He's better than me, kind of thing. So like, yeah, I will say this in Squadron 42, as far as I know, there is no Tavaran, but there is a line that is referenced, a wild line that comes up in Squadron 42, which says specifically a veteran Navy starman who goes, every single ship I have ever served on had a Tavaran. It's weird that the Stanton doesn't have a Tavaran. There's at least one Tavaran on every naval service ship. So
I guess that's a nice little cop out to them not having developed the Tavaran at that point yet.
Which means that if there's a Squadron 42 Part 2 and Part 3, we'll probably see a Tavaran crew member like Hobbs, which will definitely be a reference to Hobbs. And it'll be some sort of stupid.
We're gonna get a Vanduul crew member that flies wingman with us. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no.
No.
But if it's so what sort of call sign could they have then? If
it would be
bird,
like toucan or something like that.
Pidgey.
Yeah, whatever. Think of a bird joke.
Big Bird from Sesame
Big
Street.
Bird. Toucan Sam.
If I were able to name him, I would just call him KFC. Hey KFC.
Or the Colonel.
On my 6.
The Colonel.
You would.
I don't think that would work in military.
Sanders.
Yeah.
It would be Sanders
or
call sign Sanders
or Kentucky.
Wait.
Yeah,
What's
Kentucky.
What's the matter, Sanders? Chicken.
It would be Kentucky. That would be his call sign. Would be Kentucky. That would be the joke.
Kentucky.
Yeah. Because that's a call sign. That sounds like a call sign, or Popeye.
Yeah, that sound like a call sign.
Or Popeye.
That would work.
Oh, Popeye.
You're so off the rails. You're so off the rails.
All right.
It is after dark, after all.
Well, yeah, and also that is it's still on part of the question because it's about like you have aliens adapted to human culture. It's like, yeah, they have. Citizen Dex asks, are there any examples of alien architecture in the verse right now? Yeah. The Wicklow.
Yeah, of course.
Structures.
The Wicklow station is complete Banu's exterior. Yeah.
The exterior.
Coming one on Terra would be the Quasi ruins.
Yeah, but I mean, in game right now is the question.
Well, I'm just saying, very near future because it's part of the first 5 plan.
That's not right now, though. I'm messing with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, when you approach one of Wicklow stations, the exterior, it's got
the
it's got
spires, stuff like that.
Yeah, like pagoda or whatever. No, like what's the Russian?
I want to
ziggurat?
say, I want.
Not
No,
ziggurat.
the
minarets.
Minarets. Yeah, the minarets. Yeah, kind of look like minarets.
I want to say that some of the structures on Orson look alien-like, but I guess not. I guess it's all human.
It's all human
in there.
Yeah. I mean, and the only thing, as I think, as access, because the other question is, well, when we will see it, it'll probably be around when we get Terra, and we'll probably there's in theory there's a Xi'an embassy at Area 18, so if they add the Xi'an, we might actually see the embassy at Area 18. So
I could see it. There's areas concepted of Area 18. Well, we even know about, the works, the stuff underground. There's more than that. I seem to remember something about a plaza district, like just.
Yeah, it was at one point. That was one of the side areas you could go to that was like going to open up in the future. So
I could see an embassy being there because plazas are typically where people of various races meet.
I guess it's not an embassy. It's technically a consulate. Because embassies were in the capitals. So yeah.
Ooh, what's the difference?
The difference is an embassy is usually the central location for a foreign relations, and then a consulate is sort of like a version. They're like a smaller version. And I don't think
a consulate version would be like for their affairs, but they might have an embassy wing that's accessible to humans.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because usually you go to a consulate if you're like
okay, yeah.
Like you might, if there might be like a Slovenian consulate in the United States, you might go there if you like lost your passport. But you to go to the embassy, you'd have to go to DC to get to the embassy itself. So like there might be an American consulate in like a smaller city in Slovenia, whereas like the capital.
Consulate is for. Yeah, okay, I got it. I think I got it. Yeah,
and I don't believe it's technically sovereign soil, because usually an embassy is sovereign soil of the original country, and I think a consulate is just a building owned by the country. So.
And I was going to say, I would imagine that some of these areas in the consulate would have atmosphere similar to their home world,
probably,
or gravity, gravity like heavier or lighter,
and maybe some
to the home
structures
world.
that are similar.
There's some upcoming gameplay that makes me think that might be the case. The sneak mechanic type gameplay where you're in disguise.
Yeah.
Where else besides a security checkpoint would you sneak in? Like into bases and such run by other player factions or races.
Isn't that one of the current the current event, you can like get a scientist outfit and you get
that's like, I think that's starting to get a pulse on how to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just occurred to me, we're talking about consulates for aliens. There are Vanduul masks.
That's more of
sort of. I mean, I'm just saying, what if there are Tavaran and Xi'an masks?
Okay. I'm having the funniest flashback because my dad talked about watching old, what they called owl flicks, which is kind of like MST3K. And one of the things he talked about watching in college for these owl flicks was watching was like a 70s kung fu movie where it was like all of these like Shaolin monks who were all like, like 5'2", and in the back was the main protagonist, who's a white guy who was dressed up as one of the Shaolin monks, who was like 6 foot tall. So it was like all these like very, varying five, and this giant fucker. And the thought was, who's the giant fucker in the back? Because he's supposed to like dress the Shaolin monk to be able to like sneak into this like temple. And it's like, the one guy who's standing the fuck out. Like I can imagine like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wear a Tavaran mask to go come into Tavaran. Tavaran are like 5 foot, humans are 6 foot. So it's like, who's the tall fucker? Who's the tall?
No. Oh no! But it's worse. It's worse than that. You're actually wearing like one of the mascots for like a football team that's shaped like a bird.
Yeah,
but it does look. It
does look
nothing
like a Tavaran.
And now I'm having flashback to Blazing Saddles, but I won't use any of those jokes here.
Now, I think just about every line in Blazing Saddles breaks Twitch terms of service.
Yeah, and YouTube.
And YouTube.
All right, so there's 3 more questions left because Chaos Miku then also asks, like, will we see architecture in the verse before we see aliens? And
I think we answered that. Yeah.
We are kind of answered that. It's like probably not. We will see them at the same time.
But we did, because we saw like Banu architecture before we saw a proper Banu, because it's still half a Banu.
Yeah, half Banu.
Yeah.
Stephen Mancy asks, next solar system after the initial 5. So what's this? I'll ask you first. This one first, Baskart. What solar system do you think we're gonna get after we get Stanton, Pyro, Nyx, Castra, and Terra? What's the next system after that?
See, I would hope for Sol or Earth, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
So.
Too many jump points away.
Yeah. Something close by. I would have to look at the map. Come back to me. Hold on. Let me look at the map.
I'll say I think it's going to be Orion because it's part of Squadron 42 and it's got a jump point to Nyx.
Which is the other squadron system that has the coil in it?
That's Orion.
Odin.
No, I'm sorry, Odin.
Odin.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Orion.
Orion is completely different. Odin is what I'm thinking about. Yeah, Odin is
is connected to Virgil, which is Virgil is very important to Titan suits.
Yes, but I think Odin. Yeah. I think Odin is going to come in.
But any system starting with the V is under Vandal occupation right now.
Sort of true, but Virgil was named that before the Vandal occupation. But
however, they made some emphasis in the sitcom thing where they mentioned Nyx is incursioned from Virgil.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be working on Virgil.
You think Virgil? I would hope. I'd hope Magnus, but I know it's not going to be the case because Magnus is the home of Drake, and I love Drake. But
I could say this.
But although we could get incursions from Virgil before we actually get Virgil, just like that we had Xenothread incursions from Pyro before we actually got Pyro.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have 2 guesses. I'm gonna say either Odin or the one closer to Vega.
Bremen.
Is that Bremen?
Bremen.
Huh? Oh yeah, I could see Bremen.
Yeah, Bremen. So Virgil or Bremen. Odin or Bremen. Sorry.
You
have to go through jump points. You can't just hopscotch in space. When the Stanton picks up the player character, I'm just using conjecture.
Yeah.
Not actual information, so don't quote me, chat. Remember, it goes Vega, Bremen, Nyx, and then Odin.
Yeah.
So that's the Bremen pipeline. And we have some hints. The CDF is already in game. They are based out of Bremen. So,
well, yeah,
there's some subtle hints, but I could see it.
What do you think, Darsh? Which system?
We had a conversation, George. I
got nothing new to add. Just okay. I don't know. I would love to see a Xi'an homeworld system.
Hadrian is close. It's like right on the border.
Yeah.
So
and Hadrian is right next to Terra. So like there's a jump point between Terra and Hadrian. So
yeah. Just because we talked about like the alien stuff like this entire evening.
Yeah.
It's like I would love to see like a homeworld for Xi'an. With their culture, with trading, and where humans maybe are welcome but not fully embraced and stuff like that. So
there's a flotilla in Hadrian. I could definitely see a Xi'an embassy before you go in, and
there's sort of a flotilla. It's a human flotilla, but it's made out of the Keltu Reef.
Yeah,
it's just Drake garbage.
It's made by a former Banu, a human member of a Banu Suli. So she used to be part of Banu Suli, and she decided to build her own space station by taking old space stations, which were left over from the more militaristic time of Hadrian, and then tow them together, and then lash them together like a Banu flotilla.
So actual spider.
Yeah, it's literally spider. but it's spider, but it's a little bit more.
Light.
It's a little bit more reasonable rather than spider, which is mostly just complete garbage that's been lashed together. This is like 4 or 5 stations that have been brought together and then sort of welded together to make them look like one station.
I mean, really, this is
go ahead.
I mean, really, this is all a moot point anyway, because by the time 1.0 comes out, we'll have 100 systems out anyway.
Yes.
I do think some, though, to quote you, Fastcart, might be behind the lock of Squadron 42 deliberately. Odin definitely, because, it's where most of the campaign takes
2026, though.
Yeah, but I don't think it's coming
might
out.
Also be one.
Well, so here's the controversial thing, because this is the big one, is talking about the next 5 systems. I think CIG wants to get 1.0 out by 2027. I think that's their plan.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's not the plan. What did that happen?
CIG is not really good at plans, but they won't say 2027, but they're shooting for. So like Odin will be out in 2026, and then there'll be maybe the first expansion after 1.0 pretty quickly.
The DLC.
Yeah.
DLC, okay.
I don't think they're going to charge extra for the systems. Like
no. This
$200 for you to enter the system.
That would make people mad. People are mad enough about 100 from.
I know, that's the point. That's why I said it.
All right, we got 2 more questions left. Escape asks, think we might see alien pinup or references to alien smut? The lusty Xi'an maid, anyone?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, I would love that. I would respect CIG so much more if they did that. I would
bring us the Banusi.
Oh my Lord!
Hey.
Yeah.
Could someone clip that, please?
All I want to say is,
could someone clip that and just post that out of context?
Okay. All I want to say is, smack it up, flip it, rub it down. Oh no, I need a body bag.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Quincy Belk asks, question: do you subscribe to the theory that the Vanduul are being pushed by other species?
Off and on, it could be. I think it could be.
I will give the context for people. The Vanduul are based off of the Vandals and the Goths, who were a steppe culture that lived, Germanic steppe culture, probably more like Slavic culture, that lived in what is
Vandals
modern.
Are German, Goths are Asian.
Yeah, but so Vandals are German, and then Goths are. But they like the Vanduul, they were being pushed out of their homeland into Roman territory, and that's why they ended up. The fun fact is, they actually came in as refugees. The Eastern Roman Emperor let them as refugees to help take care of them, but then didn't give them any supplies. So they rioted and started burning everything because they weren't getting supplies to survive. So they ended up, then the Eastern Roman Emperor kind of bounced them to the Western and just, you deal with them. And so then they ran in and they invaded everything. But the thing that was pushing the Vandals out of their territory was the arrival of the Huns.
The Mongol horde.
The Huns. The Mongols were later, but yeah. The Attila the Hun, famously.
I mean, it's a valid theory. When you receive pressure from a stronger, more powerful force, it's kind of hard to fight a stick with a gun.
Yeah.
Or fight this gun with a stick. I mean, that's the analogy. Think about it. If the Vanduul are getting pushed, that brings
if Vandal technology is the stick, what's the gun?
That's the question.
A good question.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Could the Kurthak be the incursioners?
That's what they're
that's what a lot of people's are.
That's the floating theory, but but also
wrong side of the galaxy.
New thing. A completely new thing is also a possibility. Yeah.
Well, because we also know that
fuck off. No.
when we got Regen was stolen from the Vanduul. And when we stole it from the Vanduul, we were like, we've never seen anything like this, even in other Vanduul tech. So they probably stole this from another creature, another species. So if it's true that the Vanduul are being pushed out of their home worlds, which is why they're starting to come into human territory, which is some of the oldest territory the humans have had, then whatever's pushing them is the thing that had regen tech, which is, the crazy thing we have right now.
And Karthak wouldn't need it.
No.
If they're a machine race.
If they're machine species, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're also on the other side, because the Karthak are on the other side of Xi'an space, and the Vanduul are coming from the western side of space. Now, space is three-dimensional, but generally speaking, you'd have to go through a lot of human systems to get to between the Vanduul and Xi'an, though they do have some interactions on the kind of border side of things. So.
That's who the Kurthak are, prisoner. The Kurthak are on the opposite side of Xi'an space.
And that's huge. The Xi'an space is like is supposedly like 4 times the size of human space. It's a massive amount of space. So it is actually big. Like it is actually like could start
in 10 inches.
You know.
Is Xi'an space outside of the proposed 100 systems?
Yes. Only a small portion of Xi'an systems are available to humanity.
Oh, I like this. Yeah.
Same with Banu and Vanduul territories, I bet.
Yeah. Well, Banu is different because Banu is just small. They're not big. We have that weird Banu system that's sort of like an outlier, which is sort of north versus all the other Banu systems which are south. So.
Also, fun theory, Paul. If Oratani, that isolationist group, did survive and they found jump points, there could be like a sub-empire of humans going the other direction,
or somewhere else.
You know.
No, I mean, it's clear that CIG is setting up, in terms of story, the Oratani civilization will be a rival to the UEE when we rediscover them. And they'll have a completely divergent evolution because Oratani was settled before it was settled before the Mezer regime showed up. So they actually were settled. Oratani was settled, I believe, even before the Banu were discovered. It may have been after Banu, but it was like
is that where Artemis went?
No. Artemis is that's a third human civilization, which we won't talk about. So these are all like story threads that CIG could pick up and use for future expansions if they wanted to, like a war between the Oratani.
I can't imagine they won't pick them up eventually down the line. Because we're expecting these projects to go for 10 years, somewhere down the line, but in those 10 years, they'll pass 10 years, they'll pick them up.
Yeah.
Mm.
And some they'll have some sort of
like small little threads, just because it allows the writers opportunities for expansion later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we've got everything from the Tavaran Civil War, the Xi'an succession crisis, because the current emperor is the last of their line, and there is no new emperor, so they don't know when Emperor Krei dies, they don't know who's going to take over. You've got the Vanduul being pushed out of their territory. You've got massive Vanduul clans being formed. You've got the human civil war possibly between the transitionalists and the centralists, the Terrans and Earth. And then you've got Terra and Sol. And then you've got the what I used to call the Confederacy, which is now just legitimately its own government, the shadow government of the Council, which could still be a threat to, UEE. There's all these interesting story threads that they can pull from that they've set up for.
Right. Do you have the Illuminati yet?
The Illuminati? No, but
do you have those?
We do have.
No, we need ray tracing before we get Illuminati.
Okay, Oratani was sealed to our side in what year does it say? 2485. And what year are we in, chat?
2955. So that
together now.
That was post Banu contact, pre Xi'an and Tavaran contact. So it was before the first Tavaran War.
I say the Banu knows something they're not telling us.
They could. They don't. They knew about the Xi'an and never told us shit. And then when we encountered the Xi'an, it's like you never asked.
It's like you didn't ask,
yeah. Because the Banu had contact with the Xi'an as early as 1934, human year 1934. So
what?
Yeah. So like they knew about the Xi'an for hundreds of years, and when the Banu discovered humanity, they never said shit about the Xi'an. But yeah, I think that's the
God,
last question.
Ray Trace Global Illuminati. That's all I've picked
The
up
joke
from
about the
Jack.
Illuminati,
It's
though, I will
amazing.
leave you on this, is that there is legitimately an organization which is so secret it doesn't exist, which has a lot of pull within the Senate. It's called the Council of Government Affairs. I want to say the Council on Government Bureau, like Government Affairs.
That's not a fun acronym.
No, it's just called the Council, or not the Council, the Division of Government Affairs, and it's just called the Division. It's the UEE's version of the CIA, only it doesn't exist.
Just like the CIA doesn't exist.
It exists, but nobody survives to tell them you exist.
There's only one reference to it in lore, and it was in a governmental bureaucratic like line item on a spreadsheet 100 years ago. And we know that it was set up, and the leader was a former advocacy agent who actually helped Senator Akari, who was the one who signed the peace treaty between the Xi'an and humanity, the Akari Cray peace accords. And we know because of meta knowledge that it was set up specifically to root out Mezzer loyalists in the government. And it still acts as a intelligence gathering organization which feeds information back to the Senate. It doesn't answer to the Imperator, it answers only to the Senate. And there's a handful of times we've seen them show up in lore, and every time they show up in lore, a lot of shit gets broken because they have these things called gatherers, who they basically hire people to be their eyes and ears. And one of the major things was, talking about the Krthak, the Senate tasked Division to contact the Krthak. So Division hired a former criminal who had turned good, who's a smuggler. They hired him to smuggle himself through Xi'an space to get to the Krthak.
Oh, that's such a fucking Han Solo thing.
And it didn't fucking work because they got caught within two systems and caused an interstellar situation where, the Imperator was like, we need this person back because they're very important to us. The Xi'an were like, he's a spy. We're going to kill him. Because the Xi'an knew exactly what he was tasked to do, and they were not going to let them contact the Krthak. So it took the mobilization of the entire UEE fleet onto the border of the Xi'an space for both sides to start talking about it. But it required the biggest mobilization in UEE history until the Vanduul conflict to be able to rattle the sabers enough to get the Xi'an to negotiate. And
it's kind of like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, very similar to that. All because of the Division. So when Division does something and they get caught, it causes bad shit to happen. So they're very much the Illuminati, where most of the time you don't see them, they don't exist. When they do stuff, you don't realize it, and when they get caught, everything goes wrong. But yeah.
The first rule of the Illuminati is you don't talk about the Illuminati.
Exactly. They don't exist. Thank you so much for watching us.
The first rule about the Division is you don't play the Division.
You play Division 2. It's a better game.
Division plays you.
Oh God. Sometimes it does.
There was one last question about gin and tonic, and all I'll say to that is 90-day stops.
What does gin and tonic say? Question, what does the panel think about May 2025 being the best funding month ever? Yes. 90-day stops. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for Axis. Make sure you check out Axis 0096 on Twitch. Then you check out Darj at jrdf.sc, as well as to see all his
also Darionator.com.
And Darionator.com. Yeah. And you can see Fastcart on Soul Citizens, as well as you can meet Fastcart and myself at let me see if I play the video again. Do I still have the video? I don't have the video up. All right. At Quantum Vegas, quantumvegas.space, July 12th. We are selling tickets up until the event. But if you want to get discounted tickets at $99, it was going to end today, but we've extended it to June 10th. So you have from now until June 10th to get tickets at a discounted price if you want to come to the biggest Star Citizen fan meetup in the United States for this year. So we'll have Sandy Gardner's just said she's going to show up. We have Sean Tracy, Xylo, Tyler Whitkin. We've got Galactica.
Galactica,
and then we also have myself and Stardrum Grim, and I know Lavan G fan is going to be there because he's a local. So there's a bunch of content creators going to be there. Test is helping to host it. It's a huge community event that we're putting together. So,
and it'll be at Area 15 on ArcCorp.
No, Area 15 in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas,
come because there's no physical CitizenCon this year.
Yes.
So.
Since there's no physical.
But hey.
And speaking of no physical CitizenCon, make sure you set up like a watch party and register with CIG because they want to be there.
I know myself and Beyond the Verse podcast are going to be doing a watch party with the Texas Bar Citizens. So we're still in the works of making that work. So if you're in Texas, Central Texas, then you can join us on whenever that is going to be. We don't know exactly the date, but it's going to be October.
Will the chili be with beans or no beans?
No beans. It's Texas.
No beans.
No beans chili. But thank you for watching. And if you did enjoy this, follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/theastropub. Make sure you like the video, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. As always, I want to hear your thoughts on any of these things down below in the comments. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.
Let me go back to Alien Smut.